Hey guys, so excited and ladies, so excited that it's finally game week. It's been a long time coming. It certainly has felt a little bit different in our preparation, and I think we've gone through a couple of weeks of a little lull in energy, and it seemed yesterday in our get together with our kids and our practice on Sunday that the energy was back up like I kind of expected it to be. We got a great challenge ahead of us against a team that is expected to compete for a conference championship in Conference USA with 26 returning seniors and 50 juniors and seniors. So it's a very mature team that won 9 games last year and certainly are going to be a great test for us to open the season.
All right, thank you, Coach. If you've got questions for Coach Freeze, use the raise hand option, please. And we'll start with Damian Sordelet from the Lynchburg News in Advance. Damian, go ahead.
Morning, Hugh. You said on last week you guys would have come to the decision of who was starting at quarterback. Have you guys made that decision yet?
Man, I'm sorry. They're working on the volume here. I couldn't hear you.
You said last Monday that by late last week you would have decided on who would be the starting quarterback. Have you come to a decision who will start on Saturday?
Yes, Malik will get the start on Saturday, and he probably doesn't even know it yet, but he's coming in a little bit. It's we feel very good about he and Chris and even JB. They both have continued to improve. Just feel like Malik maybe give us a little extra something when plays don't quite go the way we want with his legs. So he's going to get the start on Saturday.
Next question from Emily Austin at Flame Central.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good, Emily. How are you?
I'm doing well. I have a couple questions, but I can always come back and re-raise my hand. How much do you going into week one, how much do you look into the other team and what they're going to do versus just focusing on what your team needs to do without really having any film to go off of them, I guess?
I think it's a combination. I mean, you certainly coaches are creatures of habit typically, and obviously we've looked at everything they did last year. They've got the returning staff, same coordinators, and Tyson did a great job last year in turning that program around quickly and winning the 9 games that they won. So you pay a lot of attention to that, and then we watched their game from Saturday night to see if there's anything that's a little bit different. So you certainly pay attention to that, and you try to put a game plan in that can be successful against the things that you think you're going to see. Obviously, coaches are always making adjustments in games and have a different game plan than maybe what you expected. So back to your original point, we've got to do what we think our kids can execute, and hopefully those things are good enough, and our kids understand them well enough to have a chance to be successful. So I would say going into game one, it's really more about what do we think our kids can do, and then taking from that things that we think would be good against their schematics that they have shown that they like to do, and obviously then making the adjustments. But definitely, I think it's more of, man, what do we think our kids can do?
Emily, just going with your follow-up.
Just making the decision on Malik, can you talk about how Chris took that news, and is that competition obviously still going to be alive throughout the season?
It is. That would depend upon how they perform, when they get their opportunity. Chris will be disappointed. He's a mature leader, one of the best leaders on our football team. Can't say enough about him. And I think he's continuing to improve. And the unknown is how either one of them are going to perform. In particular, Malik, he's really not had the opportunity to lead a football team, in its entirety yet at the college level. So, it really will depend upon how he is executing the offense and is he consistent in that. And so in my mind, the competition is still ongoing right now until we kind of get some live film and game situation to judge them on.
Next question comes from John Manson at A Sea of Red.
Hey, Coach, last week you mentioned a number of guys who were banged up and maybe questionable going into this week, particularly at receiver and defensive back. How are some of those guys looking this week, and do you envision anybody missing the game?
I think the receivers, I think everybody's going to give it a go. DB wise, Isaiah Avery is questionable, as is Tim Kidglass. I think everybody else is ready to roll.
Back to Damian from the News in Advance.
What did you learn from watching WKU's game against Louisville Saturday about what they like to do on the defensive end and how potent they can be rushing the passer off the edge?
Well, we already knew that from watching the film of last year that that front, and in particular, they've got a special player and number 10. He's man, he's a different dude, D'Angelo Malone. He's an NFL guy, and he's a handful that can create some negative plays in a hurry, and we definitely don't need to be behind the chain. So I think their front is very physical. Their whole front six is very physical. And, last year they were 7th in the nation in third down defense and top 25 in total defense, and they returned near about every one of them. So it's going to be a great challenge.
Next question from Travis Wells, WDBJ7 in Roanoke.
Hey, Coach, I know you said last week, whoever we pick at quarterback, the offense is going to be kind of tailored to their skill set, obviously. Can you just maybe give us an idea of what that looks like with Malik? It's a pretty sharp contrast going from Buckshot Calvert to Malik.
It is. I talked to Buckshot last night. It's a different deal, really. We won't change our offense. We're a tempo RPO offense that we've got to find out if he can do those things. Obviously, he's able to run the football should we want to call some quarterback runs. That's not even in years that I had kids that could run it like Chad Kelly. You're selective when you call those. Having a quality guy sitting there like Chris, you may give us the freedom to call some more of those should we need them to be successful. But we'll go into the game trying to be, who we've always been, and that is, a tempo RPO type offense that will look very similar. But we do have the ability, obviously, to run him, whereas last year with Buckshot, that just wasn't his deal at all. But he sure could throw it. So we'll find out. But that's we're going to go in trying to be who we want to be.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to John and then Emily after that.
Coach, have you gotten any more clarity at kicker? And you mentioned maybe having to go for it a lot on fourth down. If you don't get that clarity, have you set up a range of possibly where, if you get inside the 30 or something like that, where you'd be comfortable to call on the kicker for a field goal?
Yeah, I'll lean on a Tanner when we see the situation Saturday with weather, wind, and all of those things, how pregame went. But Barbier's going to get the start, and he's actually performed very well over the last week and a half. So our confidence has grown in that regard toward our field goals and extra points.
Coach,
all right,
obviously,
go ahead.
A lot of teams around the country doing things to bring attention to social justice. What has your team done and might be planning moving forward, and what's your focus and overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've had a great 2 weeks of really open dialogue and discussion around all issues that are going on in our world today, and been really pleased with the leadership of our team. We actually this past Saturday kind of adopted some I guess our Liberty football stance and beliefs, and we did what we believe, and we did what we want to see accomplished, and then we actually put some game plan action steps in place to hopefully accomplish change in and around our hearts and our communities. And I'm excited about that. I'm waiting on final approval from our university to roll that out. But really, really excited. Our team believes that we are all created equal, and that our actions as a team, as a whole, man, we should be an example of that and how the world should operate, and hopefully that's what people sense when they see us.
And back to Damian now.
And Coach, you mentioned last week Dupree had missed some time. How's the linebacker depth looking, and how vital that position is against the WKU offense?
You know, we're going to be a bit shallow at linebacker the entire year, but Dupree is ready to go, so that's definitely a bonus. We can't fix that until another recruiting cycle, so hopefully we can stay healthy there, and those guys will perform very well. We're excited to have him back, though, for sure.
Emily, go ahead.
Coach, to open the call talking about how different it's been, leading up to this season, the obvious with the COVID, but what I guess are your main concerns going on the road to open the season and just the whole preparation being so different for this year?
That's pretty easy. We'll start with number one, the anxiety over 3 tests this week and waiting on those results to come back. And, the latest one will come back Friday before we leave. And, we've been very blessed by the results the last 2 weeks. But then you start testing 3 times a week, and and there's so much that's unknown to us coaches about the accuracy of tests, and and you try not to get overly anxious about it, but everyone's having to deal with it, and so that's a concern of exactly will we have everybody that we hope we have come Saturday for the kickoff. Secondly, it's been a not a normal spring practice, and certainly not a normal summer. And so as you progress through camp, you're really concerned, are we really ready physically to play an 80-play game on both sides of the ball? And I still don't know the answer to that. And particularly when you add into that the adrenaline that drains you a little bit in games, and how your kids are going to respond to that when all of a sudden they feel that initial fatigue from being hyped up and the energy you expend in that regard. So that's definitely a concern. And then thirdly, tackling. Normally in spring practice, you're going to have a period in spring practice where you tackle every day you practice, that you have pads on. We didn't get that. And then you get to fall camp, you don't want to tackle because the priority is getting everybody on the bus to get to the game healthy as possible. And we haven't changed that philosophy. I still think it's important that we get our team to the game, but you're really concerned, how will we tackle, particularly against guys like they have at running back, quarterback, and receiver, they're very, very talented and athletic there. So really concerned on how will we tackle.
Damian, go ahead.
You just brought that up, Coach, and I've seen a lot of coaches across the nation say, they didn't want to be too physical during the practices leading up to it, and it was reflected in how they played. How much did you want to push the issue some to make sure that your players were in the mindset of having to tackle and, be physical at the point of attack?
I didn't change a whole lot in fall camp. We just didn't tackle to the ground very much at all. We had 1.5 scrimmages where we did, and we didn't tackle great in those. Obviously, they're working on that in individual with the dummies and those wheels and everything you have, but I didn't really change a lot. And so, are we physical at the point of attack with the line of scrimmage? Yeah, we practice that a lot. But as far as the actual form of tackling, we didn't practice it a whole lot on purpose, because, you think you want to until you have a guy come up injured, and then you're kicking yourself because you need him to play in the game. So we'll find out, and hopefully we'll improve from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 in tackling.
Next question from David at FXR in Roanoke.
Hey, Coach. You talked about the anxiety of having to wait for those 3 tests to come back this week, and you guys are so close to the finish line of just starting the season. We saw, obviously UVA, Virginia Tech, they had to postpone their game just a week out from their opener. How would you describe how the team has been mentally tested throughout this buildup as you guys get ready to start the season?
Well, I certainly can't think of another season that I've been a part of that it was more mentally challenging. I know that I've been through some different scenarios where you have some tragedy hit your team that will cause you to have some definitely some test you mentally, but those typically are a span of 24 to 48 to 72 hours, and then you kind of get back in the groove. This has been over the span of since March, and so the mental taxing and challenging that is faced all of us in college football, particularly those of us that are trying to get to game week with a full roster, has been unlike any other. So I think our kids have handled it as well as possible. Our staff has. But yet you see, like you mentioned, I think Memphis and Houston had to cancel their game or postpone it. I don't know which is the right word. Navy and BYU, I believe, had to do the same. And La Tech and another one this week, and then Virginia Tech. So you're just, when you hear those things, man, you immediately kind of get a sick feeling in your stomach thinking, oh my goodness. So, if my phone rings this week and it's Ian, I'll be anxious before I answer it, not knowing what could happen. But it's a reality that we've all got to face, that the health and safety of our teams is the priority, and we're trying to do everything within our power to make sure that we remain that way. But reality is, in the times we live, that it could affect us, and it could affect us. It could affect the team that we're playing, and that's totally out of our control at some point.
Damien, go ahead.
How did the players and your staff react to testing 3 times last week in preparation for what you'll have to do in season?
Well, I think we're used to it now. I didn't notice any reaction. Everybody walks down and you get teared up pretty good when you put it up your nose, and you're getting kind of used to it. And I didn't hear nobody's complaining. We understand that's one of the things we've got to go through and sacrificing to try to have a season.
Coach, did you have a chance to watch some NFL yesterday, or were you busy preparing for the game at the facility?
Yeah, we were busy. I caught a little bit of the night game, Rams and Cowboys. One of my former players, Van Jefferson, is a receiver, so I kind of wanted to see what he was doing there. And I just caught a little of it, really, though. I didn't get to see much of it.
Yeah.
Any other questions here for Coach Freeze? Damien?
Yeah, we talked earlier in the year about, you were thinking, how are we going to bus to Virginia Tech? Do we need 1 bus? Do we need 3 buses? What's a charter flight or flights going to look like for you guys if you do have to do some social distancing?
Yeah, we're flying, this week, and we're keeping a seat open in the middle, but it's impossible to social distance. So, here's the thing: we're testing 3 times. We get the results back Friday, and the only people that get on that plane are the ones that were tested this week. And we are doing so. SJ Tui, who's kind of in charge of that part of the operations here, has done a good job of trying to put different people around each other so that the contact tracing doesn't affect the same position, whether in roommates or whether you're sitting next to each other. So, quarterback's probably going to be sitting next to a DB, or either if you can put them setting with a roommate, obviously that's the best scenario because they're already around them. But we're trying to just think through, every scenario that could minimize any of the contact tracing.